Hey everyone! In this video, I want to show you how to set up global illumination in Godot. The reason I want to make this video is right now, if you look at 3D rendering in Godot, the examples generally you can find online, I think it's not representing the capability of Godot's 3D rendering very well. I want to, in this example, show you a slightly more interesting interior environment so you can see and appreciate how beautiful Godot's rendering can be. And to do that, we are going to make use of some cargo assets. So before I start, I want to say that if you just go to YouTube and find Godot GI tutorials, you can find, I think this is the best one in terms of asset. But even this one doesn't look too good because it's using a cartoonish environment. And another one that I'm following right now is Quiz Godot 4 baked lighting tutorial. This one also shows you how to use global SDFGI, but the environment is apparently too low poly. So in our case, we are going to use cargo, and we are going to use Blender to support very easy import. And in this case, you can see how easy it is really to get an environment and get it looking in Godot. So to start, we are going to import this particular thing into Blender. So here I have created an empty scene, and I'm going to save it into a file, call it environment. And we are going to enable the cargo plugin. And we are going to import the thing. Okay, now it's imported and we have the environment here. One thing to note is that when you import a thing in cargo, the textures that it uses is referencing a temporary file path. So if you look at any of the material, take a look at the texture here. This one is actually referencing a external location. So what we want to do before we save it, right now you can still save it, and if you take a look at the file, and we can find it here, it's containing only the model and doesn't contain the texture. So when you import it into Godot, you will not be able to see the textures. So what do we do in this case? We want to go to File and go to External Data and pack all the resources and then save it again. This will dramatically or slightly increase your file size. Let me just delete the history file, and then if we go to Godot, and make sure you have the Blender import enabled, and we will be able to see the environment directly inside our Godot. And it will also import all the textures because the texture is already embedded in the Blender file, all the textures here. So here, if we double click on the environment, and we can see a preview. You can see the entire environment is nicely imported right here. So let's close this, and we're going to create a 3D thing. In this case, we are going to make sure we drop in a world environment. And also, let's just make use of the sum. And for the environment, we're going to create a new environment and give it a procedure sky as our background. Let me just do a procedure sky. And oh, not physical sky. I want to use the procedure sky. Good. And this is our main thing. And let me just add a ground for reference plane. So here, let me just add a 10-meter ground, 0.1, 10. Oh, good. And then we are going to directly drop in the environment. If everything works right, you should be able to see a textured mesh. But in this case, it's not textured, and the reason for that is because we probably need to make sure we save the Blender file again for some reason. I just find the first time we import, it may not identify the relative path of the texture, so you need to import it again. And then you have the textures. If we go inside, you can see there's a very nice interior thing here. So what we do here, I want to add the lighting directly here. Let me add 3 point lights. I'm not a lighting artist. I'm just going to randomly place those lights. And the first one, I'm going to place it as the back here. The second one, I am going to place it somewhere over closer to this corner. And the third one, I'm going to put it to the end of the environment. So we have a 3 lighting here. Let me add a camera 3D, and we can do we can find a nice location, do a align transform with view, and play the game. That is a very basic 3D environment, right? So far it looks fine. I would say it's still working. It's not perfect. The next thing we can do, first let me just slightly adjust my camera view, and then what we can enable the shadows. And then if we take a look again, looking slightly better, the next thing we can do is go to world environment and just do a SDFGI. And now if we save it and open it again, you can see it's already way better, right? And the shadow is softer, and there's like high contrast between light and dark area. Notice all of those things, I'm not doing much, right? I'm just enabling some settings. The next thing you can do is, as you can notice here, the glass is not really showing the outside. So we want to identify the material and use our own material. So first, to identify this particular mesh, if you go back to Blender, you can find it here. Let's see this particular mesh, and if you find the name, it's a Studio Walls D, and from there you can find the corresponding materials, and the material that we are interested in overriding is a window glass. So what we do here, we are going to create our own material. Let me do a very simple material. Here I just use a standard material and call it our glass and save it. And what we can do is, during the import, we want to override using our own material. If you go to the bottom, find the one and find the mesh and find the material, and we can do external and find our own material and re-import. So that will give us the glass. And after the reload, we have our own glass. So to do something with the glass, what we do is we can enable the transparency. And now we can already see the shadow from the, see the light from the outside environment. And then what we do is to make sure it's actually showing the outside sky, so we can enable a alpha on this. And we can give it, some interesting color if we want, and then we can save it finally. Now, if we take a look at the final render, we can see this is the 3D environment as it's rendered in Godot. Now, arguably, this is not a super nice environment, and there's a lot of things we can do, but I'm just thinking this particular interior is a slightly better representation than the typically seen stylized or otherwise simple environments you can see online. Thank you for watching.